Hello and welcome back to CEO.CA's coverage, coming to you live from the Precious Metals Summit at Beaver Creek. I'm excited to be joined by Craig Parry, Executive Chairman of Vizsla Copper. They trade on the Venture Exchange under the ticker VCUFF. Craig, how are you finding the conference so far?
Hey, James, fantastic actually. It's a marked improvement on last year, getting better every year. We're seeing some extraordinary things start to happen. You know, I've met with 2 US generalist funds that we haven't seen in the space for many, many years. So I think people are starting to come back to the sector, in line with gold reaching all-time highs and every other metal moving upwards. So I think we're about to see a turn, and things are improving significantly. So it's been a very excellent conference.
It's I don't know if it's an indicator if Beaver Creek can tell us about what the next few months might hold, but certainly sentiment a little better than the last few years.
Yeah, very much. So there's a heck of a lot of companies, a heck of a lot of investors, a lot of corporate deals getting done. We're sort of doing a couple of deals ourselves in some of our other companies. There's a vibrancy to it at the moment. So things are picking up, I think. It's good to see.
Great. Let's get into it. 2024 exploration work for Vizsla Copper. Tell us what's going on.
Well, we've had a big year, big start to the year. You know, we raised $6.5 million in the first half of the year. That set us up well. We're just in the middle of a drill program at the moment on our Woodjam property.
Yeah.
Going very, very well. So, you know, very, very good result. The week before, we put out some of the results from our Deerhorn drilling. So really good numbers there. So we're very happy with that. We've got... we're about 2/3 of the way into the drill program at the moment. We're drilling 3,200 metres, so a relatively modest program. You know, we're trying to conserve some capital, but we're thrilled with what's happened. So there's one other target that we drilled called Three Firs, and in the bottom 100 metres of that hole, we started to see some interesting rocks and class within a breccia. So there's a breccia pipe, very interesting in that the class within that breccia pipe, highly porphyritic, highly altered, potassically altered porphyry class, but tantalisingly full of bornite. Something that we haven't seen. We haven't seen that style of mineralisation there before. Suggests to us that there could well be a very juiced up porphyry system somewhere nearby. So we've decided to extend the drill program. We're going from 3,200 metres to 4,000 metres so that we can go and drill one more hole down there and test that and see if we can't find what that porphyry centre that's causing those clasts in that breccia. So that's exciting. That's
very absolutely. I think extending the drill program always a sign that you're onto something, something bigger. Totally. So, you know, you've already put out a couple sets of results. What do you anticipate in terms of timelines for the remaining?
Yeah. So look, I think the drill program will go for another 3 weeks. Assays will trickle in over the next couple of months. So there'll be plenty of news flow over that period of time. Hopefully some exciting numbers in that. So, you know, I couldn't have, and there's a couple of other things about that drill program, you know, what we're trying to do there. At the moment, we've got 360 million tonnes at about 0.4% copper equivalent. But within that, there's 33 million tonnes at 0.7% copper equivalent. There's been some spectacular drill holes drilled over the last 10 years before we had the project. Some of those included 110 metres at 2.6 grams per tonne gold and 0.4% copper. Those sort of got forgotten about. So we're really trying to target those high-grade zones, understand the controls on that high-grade zones better. This drilling program's really helped that. And then at Southeast, it's also done something very important in that it's shown that the mineralisation comes closer to the surface than we'd previously expected. And lastly, at both Southeast and Deerhorn, we've found that the high-grade zones are completely open. They're not closed off by drilling. So I'm thinking that we're a very, very strong chance of proving up a significant higher-grade resource that will support a mine development. And that's something else that we've been doing. We've engaged Ausenco Engineering to do some internal scoping study work. We're a dual pit scenario, mining from Deerhorn and Southeast. That's all internal work at the moment, nothing to talk about much. But I would say that it's looking very, very positive for a mining scenario at around today's metal prices. So I think we're a good chance of having a project next year that we will do further drilling on those high-grade zones, flesh out the high-grade zones, hopefully increase them increase the tonnages there. Then we'll look at updating our resource model, putting out a revised resource, and then at some point next year, probably late next year, moving into a preliminary economic assessment of the mining opportunity there at Woodjam. So it's been a really important drill program that we're just completing now.
Okay, fantastic. And I guess I do want to quickly speak to Popler as well, and obviously Woodjam, flagship asset. Is there any work ongoing on Popler? What are your plans there?
Yeah, so we completed the acquisition of Popler back in March. We paid $2.7 million for the company for Universal Copper. Gave us this fantastic project. It's had in today's dollars probably over $50 million spent on it. Utah Copper discovered the Popler deposit, the Popler porphyry back in the mid-'70s, and they focused all of their effort on that. Once we completed the transaction, we got out on the ground and started mapping and doing geological reconnaissance. I spent a week up there during March this year, and what we found was nothing short of extraordinary. We came across on the southern part of the property, called the Copper Pond area, a 10-kilometre alteration halo surrounding some copper mineralisation that's outcropping on the ground. We found porphyritic rocks there at that copper mineralisation. So in essence, we've found a porphyry copper in outcrop, and that very rarely happens in the life of a geologist. It's a big alteration halo. There's a lot of propolitic alteration. We've now completed a soil geochem sample over this zone, and it's really classic soil geochem zonation associated with the porphyry centre. You've got a zinc halo around a stonking great copper gold moly anomaly at the centre, and we're just in and there's a big mag low right at the centre of that anomaly. And mag lows are typically associated with magnetite destruction at the centre of a porphyry system. So we're now just completing an IP survey over it. I think we've got what was one of the best porphyry targets I've ever seen in 25 years of exploring for porphyry systems. So we're very excited for that. We're not budgeted for drilling that this year, but I think there's a good chance we'll be on the ground. And if there's a chance of a discovery in our portfolio, that's one of the very best ones.
Yeah, fantastic about that. I guess lots of optionality there as well with that extra project. Yeah, you mentioned that one of the most kind of exciting projects you've seen in your career. I want to talk maybe a little bit about your experience in the industry. Obviously, in venture capital, there's some other mining companies under that umbrella. Walk us through maybe your journey in mining and into Vizsla Copper. Yeah, maybe some of the other people on the team.
Yeah, sure. So, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm an exploration geologist by trade. I did 8 years with Rio Tinto, which is sort of where I learned the ropes. Rio moved me to Antofagasta in Chile in 2002. So I spent a couple of years learning the ropes of porphyry exploration in the best place on the planet to do it. They then moved me to China to explore for Oyu Tolgoi type deposits. I think I was the first Rio Tinto person ever to visit Oyu Tolgoi. I left Rio Tinto in 2008, joined Owen Hegarty, who'd built Oxiana into a $12 billion company. Owen and I and Tony Manini left, and we started the Tigers Realm group of companies. One of the things I started there with a couple of mates was Next Gen Energy, then ISO Energy. We discovered the Hurricane deposit. I became the chairman of Skeena, and we acquired Snip and Eskay Creek, so I've been heavily involved there in the last few years. And then Mike Connett and I got together and we started Vizsla Silver, and probably the most, outside of what we're doing here on the copper front, Vizsla Silver is the most exciting thing that we've got going. We found an entire silver district in Mexico. It's now a $700 million company. We put out a PEA on that 2 months ago. That PEA showed that we're have the potential here over the next few years to build the fourth biggest silver mine in the world and take Vizsla Silver into the ranks of leading mining companies globally. So the guys are doing a tremendous job there. We had Simon Smirlik join us from Ausenco Engineering. Ausenco, of course, being the largest independent EPCM contractor in the mining space. Simon was the COO of Ausenco. Simon's led his team to build over 50 mines globally. So we've got no better, the very best person on the planet for advancing projects through studies and on into development. So we're in great shape on that front. And Simon's charged with building that Panuco Silver project. He's also leading the charge on looking at development scenarios for what we're doing at Vizsla Copper as well. So we've got that. Keith Bodnachuk, our CEO, head of Corp Developments, here with us at the conference. He's with his COSA hat on. COSA's our uranium business, uranium exploration business. That's an exciting story in itself. So we've got a fabulous team there. I should give a special mention to Dr. Chris Leslie, who's been coming to the meetings with me here over the last couple of days. Chris is one of the world's leading porphyry explorers. He was critical in the discovery of the Blackwater deposit. And so Chris has been getting around and explaining this wonderful story of Vizsla Copper's potential to investors as well. So, yeah, we've had a good few days.
Fantastic. I mean, a lot of expertise there. I guess, that's certainly a big indicator people look for a management team, but also want to focus in on jurisdiction and commodity. Why copper?
Yeah, so copper, look, it's the most important metal for humanity. We're surrounded by it here. Nothing works if we don't have copper. It's the biggest and deepest metal market on the planet as well. There's about 22 million tonnes per annum of copper metal traded. Indications are that by the end of this decade, we're going to need another 7 million tonnes of copper production per annum. So that demand change is the same that we saw from 2000 to 2010 through the urbanisation of the large chunk of the Chinese populace. Here we have the convergence of three major themes. You're seeing the demand for copper grow from, data centre usage. That's probably the surprise side of things here, and that's driven prices up in the US as well as China. We're seeing the electrification of the planet, of course, particularly with EVs, but generally. And then a third one that's catching us a little bit by surprise is that India's finally starting to really realise its potential, both in terms of electrification, but general improvement in economic conditions there in India. So you've got the convergence of three major factors that are really going to drive that metal demand. That's juxtaposed against a supply side that's as constrained as it's ever been. We haven't discovered enough deposits because of this downturn we've been through for the past 10 years. We haven't been permitting projects. We simply can't see how the world is going to keep up with the demand that's coming. There's certainly no way us on the supply side can do it. And so I think we're going to see an extraordinary scenario emerge over the next 5 to 10 years where the copper price may go as high as $30 or $40 a pound. Last time around, the metal price on that same level of supply-demand imbalance rose 6 times, from 70 cents to $4.60. This time round, could we see it go from $4 to $20 or $30? I think absolutely. And so, you need to put your foot on as much copper as you possibly can right now before things move. And that's what we're doing here at Vizsla Copper.
Fantastic. Well, Craig, lots to be excited for with Vizsla Copper there. Looking forward to seeing some of those results come out. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Good on you, James. Thank you.